And with the BBC News at 10 o'clock, this is Stephen Davis. A boy of 9 has been seriously injured after a huge inflatable ball he was in was apparently blown into the air and landed heavily. The Zorb, as the inflatable is called, had been on the water in a park in Southport on Merseyside when the accident happened. He was taken to hospital by air ambulance. The 17-year-old boy from Southampton who died after being pulled from the sea in Bournemouth on Wednesday has been named as Joe Abbess. Earlier, the funeral was held for the 12-year-old girl Suna Khan, killed in the same incident. 8 other swimmers were injured. New figures compiled by the BBC show that the number of migrants who've arrived in the UK in small boats this year has fallen by almost a quarter compared with the same period last year. More than 7,500 have crossed the English Channel, but Bob McNeill from the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford says the drop is unlikely to have much to do with government policy.
Actually, migration policy only plays a very small part in shaping whether or not people do or don't turn up and try to claim asylum somewhere. It tends to be much more affected by geopolitics and by what's going on elsewhere in the world.
Police have charged a man who attended yesterday's FA Cup final allegedly wearing a shirt bearing what appears to be an offensive comment about the Hillsborough football disaster. James White, who's 33 and from Warwickshire, faces a charge of displaying threatening or abusive writing likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress. 4 young farmers have set out on a journey to drive a combine harvester from John O'Groats to Land's End to raise awareness and funds for the mental health charity Mind. They've all lost close friends to suicide. Ollie Harrison said it took a while to get the project off the ground.
It took 7 years in the planning, really. You know, we've had a pandemic in the middle of it. We've had a fuel crisis and different things like that. And, we've chosen to do it this year. It's a massive problem. So, we've found the biggest machine we can to drive the length and breadth of the UK to try and raise awareness and get people talking.
Formula One and the world champion Max Verstappen won the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona earlier. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton came second and George Russell in third. Lewis Hamilton said it was a good day for the team.
What a result for our team. We definitely didn't expect to have the result we had today, so I just really want to take my hat off to my team. A big thank you to everyone back at the factory for continuing to push and bring us a little bit closer to the Bulls. They're still a bit ahead, but we'll keep chasing them down. But this is an amazing result.
In Rugby League Super League, there were wins for St Helens, Lee Leopards and Hull FC at St James's Park during the Magic Weekend. And the lottery operator Camelot says it has received a claim for the Euro Millions jackpot of almost £112 million. It was won by a single UK ticket holder on Friday. BBC News, 3 minutes past 10.
How do we are here? You are there. With Allan Beswick.
More than £100 million. I put my claim in. I mean, to be honest, I think not buying a ticket might hold me back, but they could slip up. They could say, "Oh, do you know what? This sounds reasonable. Here's the money." If you don't ask, you don't get. Good evening. How are you?
BBC Radio Manchester.
I am Allan Beswick, and I am here until 1 o'clock in the morning. And the telephone number, if you want to take part in the programme, rather than just sitting there listening, or indeed sodding off and listening to something else, which is an option that I can't imagine anyone would consider. Honest. Any road. The number is 0800 218 2255. Pick up your phone and you can talk about anything you wish. The team tonight, we've got Talat producing, Luke taking your calls, and Jason making the electronics all do whatever the hell it is that electronics do. Of the four of us, I think IT is going to take Jason out first, to be honest. Yeah. Cruel world, isn't it? 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, feel free. Pick up your phone, have your say, talk about absolutely anything. For example, any of these things here, but none of them if you so desire. It is entirely up to you. Apparently, there is a world shortage of pink paint. Following the release of the Barbie film, it seems that all little girls and some boys want their bedrooms painted in pink paint. If you've ever wondered what a first world problem is, that's one. And the self-centred campaigning cretins failed to stop the Derby from having those poor horses running, gasping and sweating with a miniature and hungry person strapped to the back in the intense heat. Shame. Surely love and concern for the horses should have stopped the Derby. But what do I know? Just as well, because in racing in France, you're just watching your lunch race by. So Keir Starmer has been pressed to condemn the rail and other strikes, which he's so far resolutely not done. I wonder if anybody is pressing the pettifogging gradgrinds in government to take their hands off the tiller, controlling their almost trained monkeys on the other side of the dispute. My guess is probably not. And I had a strange experience yesterday. I was wandering, as one does, around a National Trust property. I was intrigued. Not by the building, although, to be honest, the building was quite nice, big stone thing, but aren't they all, you know? The grounds were beautiful. If you like the rhododendron, you've cracked it. So it was quite pretty. They had quite good ice cream, not the best in the world, but quite good, so, you know, it was all right. But I noticed other things. There was half a dozen or so, not all together, or even in 9, but, you know, during the afternoon, they would, yeah, there's one, there's another one, oh my word, there's another one. And it was, if you can imagine it, a small tent on wheels, and they were pushing it. And I thought it's a somewhat elaborate pram, but it actually was a somewhat elaborate pram. But in each of them, there was a dog. And fair enough, attached to the handlebars, which kind of gave the clue that it was a dog, but attached to the handlebars of the aforementioned mobile pram stroke tent thing, they were one of them little blue sort of sausage-shaped packs where they have the poo bags in. It was one of those. So I thought, they're dogs. So these idiots, there may be another word for them, but frankly I can't come on with it. Oh yes, there is, barn pots. These idiots struck barn pots, take their dog out for a walk, and the only walk the dog gets is to climb out of its cage, have a crap, then climb back in. That's its exercise. Whilst they're chunky, because quite a lot of them were, whilst their chunky owners push it along. No, I have known for a very, very long time that dogs are stupid, but their owners seem to be catching up fast. And I was also stunned today to read that 99% of Brits put off doing DIY jobs. 99%! Is that all? I thought it was much more than that. Yes, love, of course I'll fix the gate. I'll do it. Come to me. I think that was Jeff Beck. I could so easily be wrong. Come on, it's music. Might have been. Or was it Jimmy Page? Might have been Jimmy Page. No, I think who cares? Anyway, it's 5 blokes going twang, 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 but a very, very good quality. Twang, twang, twang. Yeah, and wasn't he in them as well? Went off on his own and then went in a load of other bands and all. Eric Clapton. Yeah, Eric Clapton had a bash. It's all coming back to me. Clapton had a bash. Beck had a bash. Page had a bash. And then they disappeared. Evil-Hearted You is a song that has never been surpassed. Right. No, you haven't mistakenly tuned into Radio 1, or even Radio Dead Meat, or whatever the hell it's called these days. It is I, Allan Beswick, here till 1 o'clock. The telephone number is 0800 218 2255, and the subject matter is yours to choose. Let us see if we can plod through to the early hours without too much dilemma. How do Phil?
How do Alan?
What would you like? Hello,
right?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. What would you like to talk about, Phil?
Thank you. I've got myself in a bit of a pickle.
Okay.
I was having too much spring chicken in work, and my partner decided to kick it off, and I'm sacked. So I'm just wondering, what route can I go down?
You were having too much
spring chicken.
And your partner's kicked off?
The Partner's kicked off, and now I'm off the TV. Holly's kicked off.
All right. All I can suggest, given it was spring chicken and your partner's kicked off, is you may reconnect on the rebound. How do David?
Hello there, Al. Cheers. It was Jeff. It was the late great Jeff Beck that was playing before. That was superb. Thanks for playing that. That's excellent. I would just like to mention, I'm going back to the 25th of May. Hello?
Hello, yeah, I'm listening.
Sorry about that. The 25th of May, right, was an anniversary of a dreadful incident that happened. Mrs. Thatcher ordered the General Belgrano to be sunk when it was sailing away from the Falkland Islands, or Las Malvinas, as they call it, anyway, and nobody in the media, nobody mentioned it, the mainstream media, nobody said anything about it. They never mentioned it at all. 1,500 sailors died. Do you know what I mean? Just, I say, they were enlisted men. They didn't want to fight. They just wanted to sail away and get home as quick as possible. And nobody mentioned it on the media. I think it's an anniversary, a sad anniversary. Very, you know what I mean? And it was ignored by the as I say, the mainstream media. And I think that's very wrong. And something should be done about that. I think somebody needs to apologise.
What do you think? So what is this to apologise for? It was a long time ago. It is almost certainly the case that every one of the 365 days of the year is an anniversary of something horrendous in history. So this was a war and people died. Fancy that.
It was a kind of a war, wasn't it? But people died, and you can't forget about these things. You can't. If we forgot about the Second World War, up in Liverpool, where I'm ringing you from, we've just started an anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic. And and they were there. There's all applause and congratulating and backslapping. On that. So why wasn't
the memory
for
the Argentinians? If you're gonna defend them, then don't use aggressive terms. Argentinians. Don't be sorry. Don't apologise to me. It's not me you've offended. But the Battle of the Atlantic celebrations, memorial or whatever, how much time was designated to all the Germans we killed?
Well, exactly. You know what I mean?
No, it's a question. Exactly is not an answer. My question was how many? How much of the remembrance of the Battle of the Atlantic did we say the Battle of the Atlantic? And we killed all them Germans.
They did that. They had their own.
No. I'm not asking you what they did. I'm asking you what we did. It's we you're complaining about with the Belgrano. So I'm asking you what we did. You remarked upon the commemoration of the Battle of the Atlantic, and I ask you again the question that you're asking of the general media: how much time was devoted during that time to all the Germans we killed?
Oh, do you know what? I can't answer that.
No, you can't, can you? Well, never mind. The answer is probably, I can't truthfully answer because I don't know, but the answer is probably none. What happens in wars is we commemorate our losses, whoever our might be, whether it be Ukraine or Russia, but we commemorate our losses, but we don't sit there thinking, but we did kill an awful lot of people, because it's a war. That's what you do in wars. You kill foreigners.
Yes, yeah. Okay, I can't argue with that, but I just thought it was a bit thoughtless not to say, at least, to maybe commemorate is the wrong word, but I just thought it was a bit cruel not to say. Listen, a lot of innocent, brave men.
Whoa! They weren't innocent any more than they were guilty. They were combatants. Had you said we killed, we bombed Buenos Aires and killed all these people,
they were enlisted men.
The whole of the Second World War was populated by enlisted men.
Yeah.
These were sailors. You could say that many of them didn't want to be sailors. Well, that may be true. I don't know. I haven't asked them all, and it's quite difficult to ask a lot of them because they're dead. But we don't know. Yes, they were enlisted. Well, so what? So was the British Army, Navy and Air Force in the Second World War.
I know, but so what? That means like, who cares? You know, it's so
well,
long
who cares
ago.
That who cares that they were enlisted?
Well, I
they were servicemen. They were servicemen. They were doing their job, which is dying for their country.
I know, but don't you think it deserves a mention?
Not really, no. Otherwise, we'd have to do it every day for somebody.
Well, why not?
I mean, in 2 days' time, I feel sure that people will be remembering D-Day, the D-Day landings. And the purpose of the D-Day landings was to get as many Allied soldiers over there to kill as many Germans as they could.
My grandfather lost... Excuse me, Alan. My grandfather lost his eyes on the D-Day landings. He got his eyes blown out of his head.
And how often did he say, those poor Germans who blew my eyes out?
Well, exactly. I wasn't very happy. But,
I don't suppose he was.
But they were brave men too. You know what I mean? Like the U-boat guys, the wolf packs, the U-boats. They were full of brave men. And you know,
cowardly blowing cargo ships out of the water is one version of those brave you're referring to. And by the way, they were enlisted men doing that killing. And enlisted men don't count, apparently.
Well, they do in my book. I mean,
you kept saying they're enlisted men. They don't count as soldiers. They're enlisted men. Those are your words.
Yeah, well, they didn't really want. They didn't really want to be there.
You don't know that. You don't know that. You're making a guess.
I can have an educated guess.
Why do you think? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think Argentina, the government, Galtieri and his cronies, why do you think they invaded what we call the Falkland Islands? Why do you think that happened? Just as a matter of interest.
Okay, Las Malvinas is part of their territory.
Hang on. They believe it's part of their territory, but they've believed that for a very long time. Why didn't they invade 5 years earlier? 5 years before that? 5 years before that? Why did they invade when they did?
I think that's probably because there was a military junta there,
the military junta has been there for quite a long time. So I ask again, why do you think the Argentine government decided to invade the Malvinas?
It was convenient at the time.
Convenient? It was convenient the day before. Why do you think they did it? You don't know, do you?
No, I don't know.
I'll tell you why. Because the government of the day, the junta, as you correctly called it, the junta were getting absolutely hammered politically. And so they thought, let's give the Argentine people something that they want. And what they want was to throw the Brits out of the land that they claim to be theirs, the Malvinas. Now, just imagine the position where they say, we're going to take back the Malvinas. There may well be queues all down the streets, people signing up to enlist, mightn't there?
Yeah.
Because that's what the people wanted. That's what the Argentine people wanted, and quite frankly still want.
Yeah, it was.
So all those sailors in that submarine may well have been considering themselves to be, we're fighting for our nation, we're fighting to take back our land, not just simple little guys who were dragged kicking and screaming into a submarine and told which button to press.
But you don't know that, Al.
I don't, but I haven't made any assumptions. You have. You said they're enlisted men, as if that in somehow means they're not combatant.
Yeah, I know. Well, I can't argue with that point.
History says the winner takes the spoils and does the parties. The others sulk. Have a good night. How do, Neil?
Hello. Hi, Alan. I'm Neil from St. Helens. I just want to pose two questions to you. One, start off with the cost of living as it is today. People that are on universal credit, how are they meant to afford all these rises in prices? When is the government going to step in? This is the question.
Well, that was two questions already. I don't know how they're meant. I don't know how they're meant to afford it. It is absolutely diabolical that they have to try. When is the government going to step in? When they think stepping in will win an election for them. Until then, the poor can go to hell.
Right, and another one. Your immigrants coming into our country, how are they going to really stop it? Come on, mate. Yeah.
Well, if I knew the answer to that, I could become a millionaire overnight, but I don't. And it turns out neither does the Home Secretary or indeed the Prime Minister or the Cabinet, but they do keep making promises that they will stop it.
Well, what would you do if you was Prime Minister?
That's not a question that I would want to answer. A, I would never be Prime Minister because no one would vote for me, and B, I would never be Prime Minister because it's a horrible, horrible job.
Oh, I must agree. I love your show, and can
what
I give
would
a
you
shout
do?
out for...
What? No, you can't give a shout out. No, you can't give a shout out to anybody. We don't do that. But what would you do to stop the boats?
What would I do? Well, that's a difficult question, that, because I don't know what I'd do.
Okay. That's fine.
Because they're going to come into this country. If they're going to come into this country, they're going to find a way. Even if you block the borders, you shut down the borders, they're still going to find a way. So, you know what I mean?
Well, the border between us and France is about 30 miles wide and made of water. It's not stopped, has it? Good to talk to you. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. How do David?
Hi, Alan. Good first song you played there by the Yardbirds, and I think it was Jimmy Page who played the guitar on that one. I bring it up because it's about 35 years ago now since Piper Alpha. I had a good friend who was on Piper Alpha, who was very fortunate because he was a diver, and when the first of the two explosions went off, he was down at the water level.
Yeah, just for everybody, you better tell us about Piper Alpha, the oil rig and all that caper.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, it was an oil rig in the North Sea, made about 500 foot of water. They said they'd had problems for quite a long time with the firm that was running it, Occidental. There was a lot of the safety issues. But the basic bones of it was that they had two explosions. The majority of the people that were on the rig, and it was about 200 people on the rig at the time, they were all in the accommodation block, which were effectively like two big porter cabins, if you will, on the top. And after the two big bangs, that was the end of them. And a friend of mine was one of about 50 who escaped out of about 210, something like that. Biggest disaster we've had in the oil industry. And I was thinking about it this week. I was thinking about my friend Anthony, and I just thought, it's worth remembering that things happen, and sometimes it's out of anybody's control. He was very fortunate. He did suffer from PTSD. It took him about 18 months to get the therapy, but eventually he did get the therapy. But his testimony was quite harrowing, really. But as I said, out of about 200 people, 210, something like that, I think about 50 survived. So I'm just ringing up to commemorate it. I know it's your last show before you go on holiday, so let's hope you have a good show, Alan, and keep up the good work.
One will try. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, sorry, I thought you'd finish. What? Go on.
No, cheers. No. Give somebody else a go. Thanks very much, Alan. Bye now.
All right, ta-ra now. The reference to this is my last show before I go on holiday is absolutely correct. It is. I shall be on holiday after this programme ends at 1 o'clock. That's me done until the 1st of July. I will be back on the 1st of July, and we'll do every weekend through July, through August, and who knows for how long after that. And the answer to the question, who knows, is nobody knows. Certainly not I, and I don't think even the fellas in the big hats in London know either. But whilst I'm away, the programme will be presented by Connor, who you know quite well, and Stacey, who you might remember stepped in when we had dreadful electronic problems a few weeks ago and did a sterling job. So you'll have the fabulous Stacey or Connor, who you know quite well. And then I'll be back, all being well, on the 1st of July, unless Canada is as good as everybody says it is, in which case I might just phone in and say I'm stopping here. I'm stopping here for a decade, but I think that's unlikely. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, that's good. Pick up your phone, have your say. You can talk about absolutely anything. How do Tracy?
Oh, yeah, it's me. Alan, before I get onto the topic I want to talk to you about, do you know when you announced your radio station this evening, you made a comment, you made a statement that I haven't heard in years, and it's left my mind, but I'm sure if you had a rewind, you said something, and I wanted to ask you, what does that mean? I've heard that a million times.
Without you telling me what I said, it's hard for me to say what it means.
No, you said something like, what do they call it? Something like, anyway, forget that. Okay. Alan, did you see them? Did you see the Schumachers and the F-16s and them? Did you see them all? Oh,
did I see the what?
The Schumachers and you know, the big double helicopter and all the F-16s and that. They were all going boom, yo. Do you know?
Well, the simple answer is I didn't see the Schumachers going or hear them go bong or whatever. I didn't.
You didn't see the helicopter? That's what I'm on about the other day. You must have seen them. I've got it on video here, mate.
Yeah, but I'm not where you are, am I? Really?
Really nice about it, though. You've got all them Schumachers going over, right? And
I don't know what a Schumacher is. The only Schumacher I know used to drive racing cars. I don't know what a Schumacher is. I think it's German for cobbler, which may be appropriate.
You know, I mean, excuse me, what's it called? A Wumper finger. You know the helicopters that they have in army?
Yes.
Yes, them.
Right, I did see 3 of them going across Anglesey, I think it was. But then there is there is an RAF station on Anglesey, so that wouldn't be surprising, I guess.
You don't be so politically correct now, you know. We're coming to a day. There were loads of them right then. So my friend, I couldn't be bothered to pick the phone up. I was just so amazed with it all. There were that many of them. But my friend took a video and get on this, a big crow, right? All them, hardcore, like, where are me and all that. And a big crow and pecked his camera. It amused me.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many of these helicopters did you see? 16?
Well, no. I went up 10. No, there was 16, but I don't know if it was off or not. No.
Well, just give me a number without any further comments, and then I'll know.
Well,
how many did you see?
I've seen about 12. I came
about
in.
12.
Yeah, I thought it'd all finish.
12's fine. I've got an answer. 12.
Went outside, and some more came over. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm saying between 12, 16, maybe 18. I know. It really were that. I'm not exaggerating.
No, I'm not suggesting that you do.
I mean, in this kind of world, everything's recorded. I'm not going to tell a lie, am I?
I have no idea, but I presume not, but I don't know you, so I can't be sure, but I presume not.
I'm Do you know what I hope they're doing?
And where were they? I mean, I know in the sky, but geographically, where were they?
They were going backwards.
Well, they don't really go backwards very often, helicopters. They tend to turn round and go. But where were they?
They were going east, they were going west, and north, north.
Well, they may have gone in all of the directions, but where were they? Were they over what part?
I'll give you a clue.
I don't need a clue. I just need an answer. Where were they?
In the sky. Where do you think they were?
I'd already covered that and said, yes, I believe they'll probably almost certainly be in the sky because they don't let them on the M1. So again, I ask, where were they? Where were you when you saw them?
Don't take the mickey out of me because I'm a bit yo.
I'm not taking the mickey out of you. I'm trying to get you to answer a damn question. Let me try one more time, Tracy. Where were you when you saw this varying number of helicopters?
I was careful. I was there. Yeah, after them. Yeah.
Yeah. Where were you? What town were you in when you saw them?
Burnley, obviously.
Well, I don't know. I'm asking. Right. So you saw as many as 16 helicopters, possibly 18, go over Burnley. That was it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Also,
thank you.
Also, Alan, someone said to me, he said, you know, I have a problem with some people. Elon Musk, a starter. You know I don't like him, don't you? Get on this.
I have no idea whether you like him or not.
Well, loads of dudes think he's fantastic because he's got some plastic in him and he's all blah, 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 money. People believe in money, but I don't. This dude, right, get on this. He wants to put... Do you remember when COVID first came out? And there were people saying on social media, oh, injections and that, they're going to put chips in you. Get on this Elon Musk, right, because he can't raise a rocket, right? He wants to put A1 intelligent chips in people if he goes anywhere near one of mine. I don't know why someone had took him out. What a yo.
Well, I don't think we wish to encourage murder on the programme, but thank you for your endeavours. 0800 218 2255. How do Lindsay?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm just to warn people.
I don't care about your warnings. I want you to behave whilst you're on this programme. The last time you were on, you didn't.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't be sorry, just don't ever do it again. In fact, I've had enough already. Goodbye. How do Ted?
All right, Alan. You know the North and South poles, Alan, on the air?
Yes.
Well, the South Pole is more colder than the North Pole.
Possibly so.
No, it is.
Okay, it is. We'll accept that.
And you know, in Spain, where they're getting droughts and that, where there's water and they're having bottled water and that, innit?
I believe there is a drought in Spain, yes.
Well, you know, like in this country, I don't know wherever else, like what's going on, but they're putting sewage into the rivers.
They are.
So you could say people that buying bottled water know what's going on. I mean,
one is forced to wonder when people buy bottled water, where does the water come from that they buy in the bottle?
Well, it might be more filtered better, mightn't it?
Might is always an answer, but might can always be replied with yes, but is it? I don't know.
Well, why bottled water then?
I have no idea. I've never understood these people you see carrying bottles of water around. I always think they A, look a bit stupid, and B, it ain't necessary.
Well, you can get 6 big bottles of water. I've seen people carry them 12 bottles of water. And they've got a tap, you know what I mean?
Well, quite, yes. It doesn't make sense. The water that comes through our taps is cleaner, well, certainly as clean as anything you can buy separately in a bottle.
Well, where I live, we had this person come in to test the water. He took a sample of the water from the tap.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, where are you from? He sounded foreign. He said he was from Poland. Now, he was testing the water in this house.
Yes, I suspect he wasn't coming every morning from Poland. I suspect he was a Polish person working for a British company, a water company.
Yeah, I'm not against anyone.
I didn't say you were against them. It was when you said he was a Polish person. His Polishness is not relevant. He was the person employed to test the water.
Well, I asked him, I said, where are you from? And he said,
yes, I know. That's how we went down this dead end. But more importantly, did you ask him who he was testing the water for?
No, I didn't, but it's funny.
Sorry?
It's funny the way they test water, like in it. Why test water?
Well, if they don't test it and something goes wrong, they won't know until somebody drops down dead, and then they will know.
Why test every house, say, in Liverpool?
Well, I don't know that they did test every house in Liverpool. Do you?
Well, I don't know.
Neither do I.
They tested our water.
Well, they may well have tested yours, but my guess is that you don't live in every house in Liverpool.
Well, you could say the water, like the sewage that they're putting in the water, in the rivers, in the... You know what I mean? It's dirty.
Well, the water you get in Liverpool doesn't come from Liverpool. I think it comes from, to be perfectly fair, it comes straightforwardly from Wales.
Yeah, I know that. I know it comes from Wales. Like, isn't that funny? Why does it come from Wales all the way from Wales to where?
Because Wales has got a lot of water and Liverpool hasn't got much beyond the Mersey.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of rivers in Wales, isn't there? There's quite a lot, isn't there?
Yeah, and quite a lot of lakes as well, yes.
Lakes, that's it, yeah, lakes, yeah. Do you know Ballaleigh, Alan?
I do.
I went there when I was younger to a hostel. You know hostels, Alan? Hostels.
I do.
They're more cheaper than holiday houses or whatever. They're more cheaper. And if you join a hostel association, you get cheap. It's dead cheap, but you have to live in a dormitory with other people, but it's cheaper and it's more better, and the scenery are much amazing. Hostels are the best cheap holidays.
Well, certainly they're lower cost than hotels and many other forms of holiday, yeah, and can be quite good because they often have excellent facilities. Good to hear from you, Ted. Oh, sorry, go on.
Over the world, Alan. They're all over the world.
I'm sure they are. Youth hostels are in lots and lots of places, that's for sure, and there are other hostels too. But good on you, Ted. Thank you. How do Ballaleigh?
Good evening, Mr. Allan Beswick. Hold on, let me turn the radio off. Right. I hope this one might be a bit delicate for me. Have you heard of transgender people?
Yes, it's been difficult in recent months to not have done.
What it was, I heard a couple of things and they made me take aback. One came over from America. They said at one state, was it Minnesota or something? I'm not quite sure the state. They were saying that they passed a law where any young person, pre-teens or just teens, if they believed they were born in the wrong body, if they found them, they could come and get them out of their state and take them to the new state where it is, and they would do that process for them, and the parents will never know. The parents would not have to authorize it, but the kid, once the kid says, I want it, it will be done. And I felt, that's odd, I don't think that's right. Then I was reading something on the internet 2 days ago, and it says in Oxford University, they were saying that if you have these views that are anti-trans people, you might be on their infringing on their rights. And I thought, where have I heard this one before? Oh yes, it's the African countries. I think it's Kenya to be precise. They've said, oh, we don't want LGTB. Gay and lesbians, so they got anti-gay laws, and people saying, "Oh, you've got to have that." And I remembered something. President Obama went to Senegal, and he told them they should introduce gay rights laws, and they got told personally, right, this with that. Oh, we in Africa, we've got a problem with human rights anyway. We've got to have human rights first before we can have gay rights. If we ain't got human rights, we can't have gay rights. How can we have gay rights without human rights? So that's what I actually called up to say.
Africa's certainly parts of Africa are very complicated countries. Democracy is not often evidenced in the same degree that the claim is.
Because some of them might say, oh, we're going by our customs, and when they go by their customs, they'll say, this is our beliefs, and we want to go by our beliefs, not by what you tell us. And it's not too long ago that over here in the West, lesbian and gay rights was a hot potato anyway. I remember the mayor of California, I think he was openly gay, and they shot him. I think that was in the 80s. And Turing over here from the Second World War, remember him? So basically, it's only recently that we've actually said, oh, we let all this stuff over here. So why you should now go to the Africans and say, well, you got to have it when you can't put it on anybody else?
Well, if you believe something is correct, then you try to convert others, be it people that you know or other nations or what have you. But if you believe something is correct, then you try to convert others to your point of view so that they too can be correct. Now, you may be wrong in what you believe, but that's not what matters. What matters is what you believe. So it's not that long ago when homosexuality in this country was actually a criminal offence. Historically, not that long ago. But once somebody learns a better way, and not everybody in the United Kingdom thinks that is a better way, but once you learn a better way and you implement that knowledge and make legislation or remove legislation in regard to supporting that knowledge, you then think, well, we've done it, let's see if we can get others to do it.
Then yesterday you were talking about something. I think you talked about illegal immigrants coming over here, and then I remember a story I read in the paper a couple of years ago, and the way they put it said, "Oh, immigrants send billions of pounds back to their countries." I thought, hang on, this is going to be a good one. They now turned out that the people that they were doing were legal immigrants. These people had legal status in this country, and they were sending the money they earned back to their families at home. And I thought, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Well, from an individual point of view, no, there is nothing wrong with that. But if it's done in the terms you use, billions of pounds, it can have an effect on that country. Bear in mind, you were just talking about Africa. Well, the Brits went over to various parts of Africa, dug up the gold and sent it back to Britain. Didn't really do the Africans much good. Now, that's a substantially bigger issue, but it's the same essence that people go to another country, take things from that country and send them home, back to their home, as it were. So that can affect the economy of a nation, which not many nations are pleased with.
I've got one last word. Nigeria had a new president inaugurated this week, and the thing I was going to say was, did you know that the Nigerian legislatures are the highest paid in the world? But I don't know what they do.
I didn't.
They're the highest paid in the world, but I don't know what they do.
Well, neither do I, but then...
Okay, good night, and have a nice trip when you go.
I'll do my best. I'll do Glenn.
Hello, I'm Ian Parry. Well, I'm off this Sunday Blackpool tomorrow.
Okay.
And we're just going to go over there. I thought, well, bugger it. I'll stop overnight. £30 for hotel for a Monday night. And it should be a lovely hot prom and have a walk round, have a nice stream and have a few drinks at night, and the jobs are good now. In a week, I'm going to on holiday with my parents for a week to a caravan site in North Wales, Havenside. I'm going for a week there. So, when are you going, Ollie?
This is my last programme before my holiday.
Is it Canada you're going?
It is.
Yeah. Have you been before, Alan?
I've not.
Right. So where is Canada? It's
over there.
Quite a long. Is it a long flight? Though? Are you planned for?
9 hours.
9 hours is a long time. I know. Yeah. Hey, you should have a good time, man. How long are you going for?
Just less than a month, I think.
Right, it's a long time now, isn't it? I drag it, Mum. Drag it. Anyway, have a good holiday, and I'll see you when you get back there, right? Yeah.
And you, yes. 0800 218 2255. If you wish to join us, you can. Just pick up your phone and have your say. It's dead easy. How do Tony?
Hey, Alan, you okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
I was at the hospital last week. I was trying to pay for my car parking fee at one of these machines inside the hospital. I put my number plate in and it showed the picture of my car. And I put my money, the coins in, but I wasn't getting a ticket to come out. And there's a guy stood there helping me. He was from Wales, Llandudno. He said, you know, we don't pay for car parking in Llandudno. I said, no, you don't pay for prescriptions either, do you? He said, no, we don't. He said, it's a good job, it cost me a fortune. I said, well, I paid for my prescriptions, I had a season ticket. Now, what was he doing from Llandudno coming to Bolton for an eye appointment?
I've no idea. Did you consider asking him rather than let me have a guess?
No, I didn't ask him. I just thought, well, if you paid for your car parking, you might have an eye hospital.
Well, they've possibly got an eye hospital, but you may be aware of this, you may not, but the NHS permits people to have appointments at other hospitals, and indeed it is also the case that often people will be referred to a particular hospital that does a particular kind of examination and treatment. And the NHS is throughout the nation of the United Kingdom. It's not segregated, although the devolved powers are able to implement certain monetary things, but they still are able. I live in Wales. I'm perfectly entitled to go to Burnley Hospital if I so desire.
Okay, but that guy's obviously made a 4-hour journey.
Well, he must have thought it was worth it.
30 quid in petrol. Well, why haven't they got an eye unit in the same in Wales as they've got in Bolton?
Well, Wales is a big place, and they may well have one in Wales, but it may well be that they don't have exactly the same speciality that is at the one in Bolton. I don't actually know. I mean, the person you really should have discussed with this is the man who possibly had the answers, who was stood next to you. I don't have the answers.
Yeah, I should have asked him, Alan.
Yeah.
But he helped me pay for my car parking.
When you say he helped you, do you mean he gave you the money, or did he just explain to you how the system worked?
I was missing a touch screen to make the payment go through.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went, there you go. But that's how it started the conversation. We don't pay for car parking in Wales.
Well, I think he meant national health car parking, because you do pay for car parking in Wales, but not in the hospital grounds.
That's what he said, yeah. We don't pay for car parks. I said, no, you don't pay for prescription.
In the hospital gowns. There's a lot of car parks in Wales, and you do pay for them, but the NHS hospitals don't.
Okay.
No, if I leave hanging in the air the idea that you don't pay for parking in Wales, and then somebody comes to, I think he said he was from Llandudno, somebody comes from Llandudno, parks in the car park in the town, saying, oh, that's great, you don't pay here. When they get back, they'll have a bill for 80 quid. So we don't want to leave them with that misinformation, do we?
Okay. So then we go back to the point, they don't pay for prescriptions either.
That's correct.
Who's paying for that?
Well, in the end, the universal taxpayer.
Including England?
Well, the universal taxpayer, it comes out of the budget of central government, and central government gives money to the Welsh government, and the Welsh government, within certain constraints, is entitled to spend it as it wishes.
Okay, Alan. Can I just give you a quick Tommy Cooper joke?
Well, Tommy won't mind on account of his death, but go on.
No, it's just he went to see the GP and he put his arm above his head and he said, when I do this, it hurts. The GP said, well, don't do it.
All right. Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. No wonder he died. How do Shafik?
I'm okay, my dear friend Alon. I'd like to talk about Putin, Russia President Putin. He knew his constitution in a Russia constitution. How come he taking over, taking over Ukraine? He is happy. A soldier die in this war. Many Ukrainian soldiers die in this war. They're all in heaven. But guilty is Putin. Putin, example, my friend. If Jesus Christ is coming now in this year, he found everything truth in this year. He found Russia constitution, he found America constitution, he found British constitution, he found Saudi constitution. Even he knew whose constitution he will be ruled this year. Mr. Putin, he not ruling only Russia, he will be ruled this year with people, with human beings. So he not destroy the Bible. Na'uzubillah. He not destroyed the Bible. Jesus Christ not destroyed the Bible. He gonna say Jesus Christ Bible is my religion book. Bible, every single word is from God. But also I'm coming third time away again. If I am dead now, I'm coming third time again. And which book coming third time again? Say Quran. Thank you.
Thank you. Put your hand up if you understood that. No, me neither. How do Malcolm?
I do, yeah. I just thought I'd briefly comment. I saw a picture on Sky News of President Biden falling on stage. Did you hear about this?
I saw the same news. He fell over an item that was unexpectedly on stage, I seem to note.
Yeah, in front of some naval officers. Or Naval Academy, was it? Yeah. I mean, it strikes me that really, is he fit to be pres? If he's falling over like that, he might have hurt his head, he might have led him to make bad decisions. I mean, I favoured, I think I said
Clinton. Bill Clinton once fell over. Does that mean he shouldn't have been president either, because he falls over?
Well, he was impeached, wasn't he?
Well, he wasn't impeached for falling over, and
That's
he
correct,
he was capable, and that John F. Kennedy, he managed to stop a bullet with his forehead. So should he have been president for such clumsiness?
Well, I'm suggesting that Robert Kennedy Jr. would be a stronger candidate for the Democrats, even though
he was shot anyway.
No, I'm talking about Robert Kennedy Jr.,
the later
son of Robert Kennedy. Yeah. I think he'd be a stronger candidate for the Democrats than Biden, who is clearly, as it were, fading. That's my views. I might be wrong, but let's see.
On account of never having met him, I presume.
Well, I'm looking at what I'm observing. I'm seeing a guy falling over in public who's supposed to be a leader. And he's not been very impressive in the last year or so, in my view. So I think it'd be better if we had a change of Democratic candidate.
We can have a sensible conversation as to whether the policies that he is advocating and attempting to implement are acceptable to you. But to condemn him for falling over something that shouldn't have been there anyway is a little harsh.
I take your point there, but I mean,
excellent.
Even so, you should be in reasonable physical health, surely, to be able to do that role. The president has regular medical checkups under the laws of presidency, so clearly he passes those. Does he not appoint his own doctors, though?
No, he doesn't.
Well, I mean, I'm only seeing what I'm seeing. Others can reach their own conclusions, but I feel that another point I'd make about Biden is his climate change advisor was a guy called, I think, John Carie, is he? That's right, a former presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And he recently, Biden, in his state of mind that he is, agreed to a huge oil field being opened in Alaska. Now, Carie had been across here telling us that we shouldn't be opening that coal mine in Cumbria. So, a bit of a contradiction there, isn't there? So I think that...
In a politician, that's an outrageous statement.
Okay, I'll take your point.
Look, I mean, I can listen to conversations and take part in conversations about whether the policies advocated by a given politician are to your taste or accurate or what have you, but to say he shouldn't be president because he fell over, I think is a little, well, bizarre.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that, but I still say that he's not in the best of nick. That's how I'll put it. I mean, he duffed it up when he went to Ireland and he started talking about the black and tans as if they were a New Zealand rugby team, whereas in fact it's the All Blacks. You would know that, wouldn't you, being a rugby fan?
I do.
So he's
I'm aware of the black and tans anyway.
Pardon, sorry?
I said I'm aware of the black and tans also.
Yes, but he confused the two. The black and tans, as you know, were a regiment that were sent across into Ireland, etc., etc. But the point is, Biden confused the two. He's making a lot of odd things and decisions, and it might be better if a younger and intelligent lawyer like Robert Kennedy Jr. was to take that mantle of being the Democratic candidate. That's all I'm saying, and I'll leave it to that.
Indeed.
Is that okay, Alan?
And it's fine by me, unless, of course, that particular Kennedy is part of the rather less than honourable Kennedy brigade, should we say. It turns out
you say that they're less than honourable, but...
Well, it turns out quite a lot of them were quite dodgy.
Well, I take your point there, but there were certain
they don't fall over.
Well, yeah, okay, we'll go with that, yeah, okay. I'm off now, right, thanks for that,
okay,
right,
have
bye.
a good night. 0800 218 2255. To be fair to the Kennedys, and they are very powerful, so it will be, to be fair to the Kennedys, you can probably suggest that just about everybody involved in senior politics in the United States is less than perfect. Now, if Trump gets chosen as the Republican candidate in the next election, I think it's next year, but in the election in the United States, then is the current president the person ready to take him on again and win? And that's a matter for the Democrats, of course, but it is rare. I mean, I'm not that well up on American politics, even though they have a major bearing on our country, but it is rare for a sitting president to not be selected to run for a second term. But it is quite interesting that if he does win, so he does run and he does win, the current President Biden, then he'll be 85 at the end of his second tenure, assuming he lives till the end of it. But he'll be 85. Now, you know, I remember the days when politicians were old, but they don't seem to be anymore. But that's rather like when I got to 40 and I thought the policeman had got young. 0800 218 2255. How do Charlie? No answer was the stern reply. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing? Sorry, let me just walk out of this busy bar. I don't know if you heard that. They was playing the Spice Girls. Are you a fan of the Spice Girls, Alan?
No, not really.
No, not really. Well, maybe you should get cultured in music. Anyway, Alan, I just wanted to say...
I've heard the Spice Girls described in a variety of ways. Frankly, I've not really heard the word culture used. But no matter.
Well, of course they're very cultured. It's English 1990s music. It's music of the time, Alan. It's very cultural, you know? Very pop. Topical, as they say. Anyway, Alan, I just wanted to say, now you've slipped a little bit, haven't you? Now, I've been listening for a few years now, and after listening to your performance tonight, now I do have to say, Alan, maybe you're losing your edge, if I dare say so myself.
You may indeed dare. Who cares?
So what are we going to do about it, Alan? Are they going to replace you with a younger model? Is that what's going to happen?
We aren't going to do anything, and I'm not going to do anything, and I have no idea who they're replacing me with when I finally walk away from this palaver sometime this year. I've no idea. But if I start to care, it'll be a shock.
Now you listen here. You
I'm not able to listen on account of you appear to have disappeared. Perhaps you've gone back into the bar where you might have left your brain last time. Who knows? 0800 218 2255. I'm afraid we can't play any cultured music because the Spice Girls are not available. But fortunately, candy people to a pizza restaurant the other day. Part of a tiny chain, not one of these big national chains. Anyway, so I went to a pizza restaurant, and it was nice. And one of the younger people I was with, I know you have to stoop sometimes, but anyway, one of the younger people decided that they would order the spicy pizza. And it said on the menu, you can order it to be extra spicy. So he did. I know. What a barn pot. He got it, he took one bite, and he was crying his eyes out. His eyes were pouring water out. You know, like they see in cartoons, where it spurts out like somebody's put a nail in a pipe. It was almost like that. Oh, it was one of the joyous moments of my weekend, really, watching somebody gasp. Have you seen that advertisement on the telly with the meerkats? And they always have it's like a little play, and they've now got a gopher or whatever it is. I can't. Some other creature that carries rabies. Anyway, they got that involved, and he orders. What is it? He makes them a chili, and the younger of the meerkats eats the chili, and then the guy reads it out, and he says, "Yeah, I've put a what is it?" He says, "I've put in a." Oh, that's right. I've put in a pint of chili powder. The younger meerkat's head almost explodes, and the next shot is him lying there having intravenous milk, and he's and the whatever the other rodent creature is says, "Oh, I've just reread it. It's not a pint. It's a pinch." Well, it made me laugh. I didn't buy the insurance or any of the other things that they sell, but I enjoyed the advertisement. Yes, it was quite funny. And I like things that are quite funny from time to time. Unfortunately, I don't get it. We get the odd joke on this programme, and they are so very rarely funny. You know, when Tommy Cooper told those silly jokes, we had somebody on earlier, didn't we, doing a Tommy Cooper? When he did them, they worked, not because the joke was funny, but because Tommy Cooper is funny. Being a comedian isn't just about having the right jokes. Good jokes help, but good jokes in the hands of people who are not very good at telling them are really dull, dreadful jokes. Whereas bad jokes in the... No, I'm not claiming to be able to do it, but bad jokes in the hands of somebody who is an artiste of the joke, a comedian, are hilarious sometimes, but of course, not always. 0800 218 2255. Want to join us on this fine evening? You are more than welcome. We're here till 1, and right now it's just after 10 past 11, so it's a couple of hours, give or take a bite. Here's Danny with Mary's Prayer. Is that... It's not, is it? I mean, I wasn't listening, to be honest, so it's hard for me to be... But is that the Mary I'm thinking of? You know, long blue frock. You know the one I mean. There's pictures of her in churches and things. Is it that Mary? Mary's Prayer? Because the prayer's a bit of a clue, sort of. Or is it some other Mary doing a bit of praying as a pastime, a hobby, if you like? I don't know. Hence the question. People know things, and the only way you find out from people who know things is asking them in order that they might tell you. And then when they do, you know as well, providing you can believe them. Because quite often, as we've learned here, you can't always believe them. Sometimes they get it wrong, which, you know, it's fair enough. We don't mind people getting it wrong, do we? No, not at all. Anyway, if you want to join us, that's good. 0800 218 2255. We're here till 1 o'clock, and you can talk about anything. But if you don't want to, that's fine by me as well, because we place to see how much more God bothering we've got. Oh, we might get to Duran Duran. Yeah, never mind. I'll do Dave.
Hi, Alan. I've got a question for you now.
Okay.
For years and years, I've been using liquid soap. You know, the dispenser, just press thing down and get a bit of soap out. Have you ever used them?
Yes.
And have you used tablet soap recently?
Do you mean like a bar of soap?
Yeah, a tablet, yeah, better.
Yeah.
Right, well, have you found that they've started putting little bits of grit in the soap? So that they're saving on tallow or lard or whatever they use to make the soap out of.
I haven't noticed. There are some soaps that have smelly things within them. Some of them are disinfectant, some of them are scented. I even bought some soap once. Well, I didn't buy it, let's be honest. And it had bits of bloody leaves in it. What's that about? Yeah. So, yeah, they do. They add things to try and make it more attractive. It clearly hasn't worked with you, and it didn't work that well with me either.
Well, but when I was married and when we were kids, it were always either Lifebuoy or Imperial Leather.
That's posh, Imperial Leather. How come the label never come off?
It did. I always had to take it off.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, you should always take it off.
I think that's cheating. Because you end up with this skinny little bit of soap with a lump in the middle with a label on it.
I know, well... yeah, so it was always them two. But recently I've gone back onto Imperial Leather.
Ooh.
And there's loads of bits of grit in it.
Well,
I've been washing my hands on the tap and I'll feel a lump appear. So I just pull it off and wash it off with finger.
If you look at the label on the back where it's got ingredients, it might tell you what them lumps are.
ingredients. I'm not going to eat it.
No, I know, but it's still
I know what you mean.
ingredients. You have ingredients for paint. It's the things you put in, but it may
Don't
tell you on the back.
Don't mention paint to me. I worked in paint. Worked for 28 years.
Well, you know, then it had lots of different ingredients, but they so they put things in it, and you can have a look, or maybe you just got a faulty bar.
Oh no, they're all the same. I've been on them for a bit now.
Right. Well,
They don't last long either.
Well, it's because you take the label off. The label protects that middle bit.
Oh yeah. I've got some purrs soap as well, purrs, and they're the same. They've got bits of grit in them.
They? But
they all do now.
That's supposed to be for babies.
Purrs soap.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Supposed to be super mild.
Well, I were a baby once.
I guess we all
right.
Well,
it is nice. It's got a nice smell to it.
Well, they're good.
But I don't like having bits in it. I think they're cheating to save on money.
Yeah, there might be, but they could, to save money, they could just dilute it a little more, couldn't they? Just add more water, and water's a lot cheaper than putting bits in.
I could tell you a tale about my brother-in-law if you want, a funny story.
But by all means, as long as you don't name him.
No, I won't.
Okay.
He's never worked a day in his life. You're right, lazy pig. And his wife got him a job at Cousins Salt, worked in wherever it is in Manchester. And it lasted 2 days because he was wheeling the odd bars of soap, or lumps of soap that were going into this office. And he was wheeling all these barrel loads of soap, emptied into the office, go back, get another load and shove all these lumps of soap in it. And he let go at wheelbarrow went into the mixer, broke all the machinery. He got sacked on the second day.
All right, that would do it. Whilst you were telling me that tale, I've looked up on your behalf the ingredients of Imperial Leather Soap. It's made by Cousins, who you just referred to, and here it is. Are you ready?
I am going. Amaze me.
I'm going to. Sodium palmate, aqua, sodium palmkernelate, glycerine, parfum, sodium chloride, titanium dioxide, tetrasodium EDTA, tetrasodium etidronate, eugenol, coumarin, citronellol, alpha isomethyl iodine, geraniol, linalool. That sounds like a character in a cartoon, but linalool and benzyl benzoate plus CI7720, CI1160, CI7110 and CI74260. So those are the ingredients. What it doesn't say on any of them, and these are the lumpy bits. So there you are. I've just looked it up.
I think they're putting cat litter in it.
Is that what you think it is? Well, there you go. Hopefully not used, but do have a good night, Dave. Cat litter soap, that'll catch on. How do Oscar?
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk tonight about intimate relationships and specifically, to start off with anyway, age and age gaps within intimate relationships. And it's interesting that the age of consent for intimate relationships, I believe, is 16 now across the board. But once you reach that age and you're able to consent to these intimate relationships, it can be with anyone of any age. But I think it would be fair to say that intimate relationships between people of, say, 16 or 17 and someone who is much older than that is something which meets sometimes with disapproval by onlooking members of the public, does it not? So I was kind of thinking about it, and maybe I'm going down a silly avenue, and I thought I'd sort of put the suggestion to you to see if you can come up with any reason why I'm thinking flawed thoughts. But I was just wondering if perhaps the law should restrict the age for younger people who have reached that age, whether the law should restrict the age of the person with whom you engage in an intimate relationship, and you could possibly even sort of stagger it as the person reaches the 16th birthday and moves towards a more mature age of up to, 18 or even 20 or something, whereby you start off with a 2-year maximum difference at 16, and maybe then when you reach 17 that could increase to 3 years, and so on and so forth, until whether it will be 18 or I think I would prefer it to be 20, because I've always thought really that the age of majority should be 20, because when you're a teenager you're still really an adolescent. I've never really liked the idea of 21, and I don't know where that actually came from, key of the door 21, but I think that seems too late. But I just thought maybe that would make things a little bit more, might introduce some complications, but the laws and things they're never sort of smooth sailing and easy to, always automatically easy to accomplish exactly what you want without some complications. But on balance, I'm just wondering whether...
What would be the benefit of it? A sliding scale in the form you describe?
Well, I think the benefit would be that we would make it frowned upon or prohibited to have...
Well, it wouldn't be frowned upon. It would be prohibited if it was the law.
Yeah, okay.
So what would be the benefit of such a law, Oscar?
It would prevent relationships between someone who has just reached or has recently reached the age of consent from having a relationship with someone who is much older. If you take the view that once you reach the age of majority, then you can have a relationship with anyone of any age and that's acceptable, then that's okay. But my question is it actually acceptable for someone who reaches that age of 16 to have relationships of an intimate nature with someone who is maybe 50, 60 or even older than that? Or is it unhealthy? Is it unwholesome in some way? Is it something which might have a negative effect on the individuals and on the wider society? And I think the fact that some people feel uncomfortable about it, which I think it's fair to say they do, is that not an indication that there is something wrong with it? I mean, sometimes we only know truths by the fact that they are revealed to us internally within our soul, so that when you look at something and you say, just in my gut, it just feels wrong, is that sometimes not the only indication that we ever have that something is wrong, and that the laws that we introduce as a society should reflect the feelings that we have that something is wrong and should be legislated against.
I mean, what we're talking about here are, if you like, people's moral objections to 16-year-olds having sex with 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds. And yes, there is a moral essence there, but the job of the law is not to, if you like, appropriate morality. It's to protect people from certain things. The age of consent at 16 was introduced certainly way back in the early 1900s or even earlier for women, for girls, females is probably the safest way. And the idea of that was to protect children from abuse or sexually transmitted diseases, early pregnancy and the like, when their bodies were less mature to accommodate it. But young people mature much earlier now. But there is still this issue about, are they being coerced into the age of consent? We then have to think, well, okay, I've heard your explanation of what you perceive as the benefits, and they're not to be disregarded, and I'm not doing so, but then we have to think of what the consequences are. Now, okay, we know the consequence of having sex. If you're 30 years old and you have sex with a person, a girl particularly, because it is sometimes genderised, but about a girl particularly who is under the age of 16, that's treated often quite seriously. If you made it 25, 20, it doesn't matter where you make it, but we could end up, could we not, with people in jail for things that at the moment are legally acceptable.
Well, I suppose that's why I'm suggesting a legal change, because it may be legally acceptable as it stands now. Well, it is legally acceptable as it stands now. I don't completely agree with you that morality should not have a bearing on how we formulate our laws, because I think
I didn't say that. I said it shouldn't. It shouldn't actually be hijacked by morality. We sometimes have to take other things into consideration, and one of the things we took into consideration. I say we weren't alive, but one of the things that was taken into consideration was the maturity of the individual concerned to make the judgment that that sexual act is acceptable with them.
I'm just calling into question whether it should be more graduated, that the person, when they reach that age, is introduced to this kind of interaction with people who are closer to their own age, at least initially. It gives them a chance to...
But they either... I mean, isn't it an absolute? In law, it is an absolute, but isn't it... If it's about the 16-year-old's ability to make the judgment as to whether to have sex, the issue of the age of the person they are making the judgment about is part of that judgment process, isn't it? It's part of the maturity of the person who is making the decision, the 16, 17-year-old or what have you. And it's whether to have sex is the decision, who to have it with is the decision. And if it is somebody 25 years older than you, then you still have the ability to make, the law presumes, in general, that you still have the maturity to make that decision for yourself. Now, are you saying, and you seem to be suggesting, that certainly morality questions it, but are you saying that a 16-year-old doesn't have the maturity to decide whether to engage in sex?
Well, it may be the case that they don't know that. Well, not that they don't have the.
If they don't have the maturity to make the decision whether or not to engage in sex, the age of the person on the other side of the equation is irrelevant. They don't have the maturity to make the decision, so they either do. All people are different, but they either do have the maturity or they don't. Surely that's the issue legally.
Okay, but the question is whether, when they make the decision to do that, if they make the decision to do that with someone who the circumstances introduce additional factors, then maybe that is what a modification to the law would be protecting them from. The question is there something additionally harmful or prejudicial if, when that young person decides that they do want to have sex, that they end up thinking, well, I think I'm just going to go ahead and have sex with someone who's 60 years old. It to me feels like there should be something in there which forces them. It's not really encouraging them if it's a law. It's something which forces them to say, if you are going to do it, then by all means do it. It's your choice to do it. But the law will mandate that you must, at least initially, do it with someone who is close to your own age. I think personally that there is a case to argue that they should be legally forced to actually introduce themselves in that way to something which is that important to their lives, as they are still really developing their understanding of what life is all about.
So you're back to they are not sufficiently mature to make the judgment as to whether to have sex. Because the potential consequences of the act, and I understand the selection process, for want of a better term, but the potential consequences of the act, the possibility of an unwanted pregnancy, a sexually transmitted disease, the consequences are the same whether the person is a day older than you or 30 years older than you. The potential consequences are the same, aren't they?
Well, okay. Some of the potential consequences are the same, but my question is...
Give me one that isn't. Just for the sake of our conversation, give me one that isn't.
I mean, psychologically, or...
But 16-year-old girls at the moment are being persuaded psychologically, for want of a better expression, by 16-year-old boys to have sex with them. Is that any more correct and acceptable societally than if the boy persuading isn't a boy but is a 36-year-old man? Is it any different?
Okay, well, one thing that does spring to mind, I suppose, is the broader circumstances of the life of someone who is 16, who the person decides to have sex with, and a person who is 50 or 60 that they decide that they're going to have sex with at 16. You can have, as we have seen, I don't want to make this personal about anybody, but we have seen examples of people deciding to engage in these kind of relationships with someone not because they are interested in them as a love interest or perhaps to explore the nature of an intimate relationship, but they decide to do that based upon the status of the older person. So you end up with...
Have you ever been a 16-year-old boy? Because I have. And I was absolutely desperate to have sex. And I'd have done anything other than harm.
Right, but when you were 16, did you feel an urge to have sex with people who were approximately your own age or to within a few years? Or did you feel the urge? As it happened
at the time, I thought, right, I'm 16 now. If I can find a 16-year-old who'll have sex with me, I'm doing it.
Right, but I mean, in my suggestion of a modified law, you would still be able to do that.
Yes, indeed, I would.
What the law would prevent you from doing would be saying, right, I'm 16, I'm raring to go, so let me have a sexual relationship with my 60-year-old boss or a 60-year-old member of a business or some organisation that I felt I wanted to get inroads into.
But you're now introducing an element of coercion, which in itself is already an offence.
No, I don't mean to suggest anything about coercion.
Well,
it would be...
But with my boss to progress, come on. There are businesses shutting all over the place where bosses have coerced their employees one way or another, or at least tried to have sex. I merely need to use 3 letters, C, B and I. But it is an interesting thought, Oscar. Thank you very much indeed. I'll do Jacqueline.
Good evening, Dr. That conversation you've just had now, I don't have social media, whatever, but it's different in Japan and Switzerland. So maybe you could look that up and find out the differences. Because
I don't know what the different age is, but yes, around the world there are different
that's right.
ages of consent.
I think in Japan that they have incest, don't they? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, that's
neither am I. Let us not go down that road.
No, that's pretty naughty. A friend of mine, they bought a washing machine a couple of years ago, and they never took delivery of it because the one they chose didn't fit into the gap, under the sink thing. Anyway, they've never taken delivery of it. And although it's been a couple of years, are they still entitled to have that washing machine? Because the company that they bought it from have never been in touch with them. They've never phoned them, never written to them. So do they still have a claim on that washing machine that they paid for?
A claim on the washing machine?
Yeah.
Possibly not. And there could be
paid for it in cash.
Okay, well, I'm answering your question.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Possibly not, because that particular washing machine is almost certainly no longer in existence.
Yeah.
Because you don't buy that one over there, serial number 123456789 PQRT. You buy that one over there, Beswick Washing Machines Emporia, model the Super Duper 45. But if the Super Duper 45 is no longer manufactured, you can't force the contract because it is frustrated by the non-existence of the product. Would they be entitled to their money back? Almost certainly, but if they haven't asked for their money back, they're not going to get it.
But if they bought, if they changed to another washing machine and paid more money, are they still entitled to do that?
Well, they are almost certainly entitled to a refund of their money because the contract has never been continued. It's never been closed, so the contract has not had all 3 elements of it: offer, acceptance, and, for want of a better expression, delivery. All 3 elements have not been done, so the contract is not yet complete. But the contract, as it stands, almost certainly cannot be completed because the product they wish to purchase no longer exists. The best they can hope for, if they went to court, would be a refund of their money. If the shop has managed to keep the washing machine that they bought and said, we can't dispose of this, it's not ours, it is within reason for the washing machine company to say, we're charging £1 a day for storing it. And that could be more than the price of the washing machine. That could be, But the most likely outcome, if the washing machine retail company would have a mind and amenable, the most likely outcome is to say, well, you can have your money back, or you can have that one over there that's £120 dearer if you give us the 120 quid. But in essence, they're entitled to their money back because the contract has never been completed, unless there is some specific term. But the counter is, by that I mean the opposing thought is, that the company could say, well, we've kept it for you, it's here, it's yours, it's not up to date, it's not the modern one, but it's the one you bought, but we've had to store it, so we want £1 a day.
they were told it wasn't any good because it didn't fit into that space.
Well, that
You know,
doesn't
these
matter.
spaces that you
That's not relevant.
So they cancelled that one.
Well, that's not relevant. When they bought it, if they went into the shop and said, "I want that one there," and they bought it and paid for it, and then went home with the dimensions and thought it doesn't fit, that doesn't mean that they can go back and cancel the contract. Now, if they went into the shop and said, "Look, we've got a space and it's 5 by 3 by 2.
Yeah.
Can we have that one and will it fit?" And the supplier said, "Yes, you can have that one, and yes, it will fit," and then it doesn't fit, that's a separate issue. But the judgment to buy it on that occasion is what counts. If they bought it and then measured, then it's their fault. If they said, "I want one that will fit into this space," and it didn't, that's the retailer's fault.
So there's no time limit?
Yes, there is. The time limit, I think, the expression that used to be used was statute barred. In other words, barred by law. And I think that is 6 years, I think.
But they haven't had any notification from the shop. Does that matter?
I don't know what you mean by notification.
Well, you know, they said, "Well, we've got this washing machine, and you need to take delivery of this."
Right.
So they don't have to do that?
I can't answer that because it depends on the conversation when they were buying it. Imagine this conversation. "Can we have that one over there, and will we store it? Will you hang on to it? Here's the money. Will you hang on to it until we're ready for it?" And if the shop said yes, then that's the contract, and they're still hanging on to it and waiting to be told that they're ready for it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I did consumer ages and ages ago, and the laws change all the time in consumer, as you know. But, you know, that's my interpretation, my unqualified legal interpretation, ballot room lawyer style. How do, Craig?
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
Just a quick one before we start. It's a good job Imperial Leather isn't a sponge cake, because that recipe you was reading out was a bloody nightmare.
Oh, no. If they'd have said, "But there's jam in the middle," I'd have gone for it, I tell you.
Yeah, well, me too, and a bit of fresh cream, and it would have been all right for me too.
It went to hell.
I'd be looking through the cupboards and everything. I've not got any of that. What? So anyhow, I just wanted to refer to a caller earlier who spoke about the Piper Alpha disaster, which I agree was a tragedy. I'm an engineer, and I've worked in many different places, and we have to have safety inductions. And from even though it's a tragedy, but something good come out of it, because they often play this video, and it's available on common video sites or whatever, a safety video, because there was a hell of a lot of human error which caused a disaster, and there were so many good learnings from it. So health and safety, it's a good health and safety video. So it basically was about signing off as a permit to work. So one crew finished, another crew started, but the handover wasn't full, the information wasn't correct. So someone did something unknowingly, that this pipe work was open, and which caused a disaster without going into detail. But it's amazing to watch, and the learnings from it were so good, so tragic about the men that lost their lives, obviously. Yeah. But I think it is quite good that they learned from it, and I've watched that video in many different companies, and my safety inductions, and it is an eye-opener. It is quite good reading.
I mean, incidents such as that do and ought to, ought to warn us all about complacency.
Definitely. And that was a complacency. I've worked in so many factories, working shifts, and you hand over, you go down to the locker room early, get changed, your mate comes in, "All right, Mucker, everything all right? Yeah, not a problem, mate, everything's okay. Line number 2's down, go and work." And that's what it was a case of. It was just that complacency, and unfortunately so many people lost their lives due to it. And that's why, and people often think with health and safety there's so much paperwork, I've got to sign this permit, but it is all there for a reason, you know, and that was a bit of good that come out of it.
Well, it's an ill wind, as they say, isn't it? It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Thank you for that, Craig. Thank you very much. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255, 10 to midnight, just after, to be picky, just after 10 to midnight, here till 1 o'clock. And it's my last hour and 10 minutes. Before I go on holiday, I'll be off for a month. I won't be back until Saturday, the 1st of July. Sat in this chair whilst I'm away will be either Connor, who you know, Stacey, who you met recently. If you listen to Radio Manchester, you will have heard rather more of her. And she'll be with you, or Connor will be with you for each of the weekend nights until I return on the 1st of July. And then we will continue, me and the team will continue each weekend until the axe falls, when all the new changes in BBC Local Radio come in, but not before the end of August. So we've got a couple of months there of late night phone-ins on a Saturday and Sunday. So you've had the warning, brace yourself. But more importantly, you can enjoy the next 4 weekends in the excellent company of Connor and Stacey, who will shout at you much less than I do. How do Arthur?
Oh, hello, sir. How are you? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Trying to clear things up slightly. Regarding tonight's final show on the TV, Britain's Got Talent, and I'd like to find out what other people thought about the winner and the result.
What is it? What is it you want to find out about? The line's not very clear, Arthur, I'm sorry, but what is it you want to find out about?
Did the other people agree with the result? Who's the winner and the second, and the man who came second, and the girl who came third? There was some fantastic talent on there, but they think they got it all cocked up, all back to front and upside down, so can't get you.
I'm still struggling to understand, not because of you, but because of the line, I'm sure, what it is you're saying. Try again, I'm sorry.
I say the thing that the magician, the young male bar magician, should have run that show tonight. And the young lady, young girl, age 11, with blonde hair, fantastic singer, all dressed in white clothes, she should have come in second.
So is this the programme Britain's Got Talent?
Yes.
And you're saying in your view the magician should have won, not the person that did.
Exactly. 100%.
And did you cast a vote for the magician?
I certainly did. I saw him in 3 separate times.
Right. So you cast 3, but it's a public vote, isn't it? Yeah. So more people disagreed with you than agreed with you.
No, what I'm trying to find, what I'm trying to get at is, I'd like other people to phone in and to find out what they thought of the show.
Right. Well, if people wish to do that, Arthur, they are more than welcome to. If you want to comment on Britain's Got Talent, which it patently hasn't, otherwise we wouldn't have so many acts from foreign lands. But if you wish to comment on the outcome of Britain's Got Talent, feel free so to do. 0800, thank you, Arthur. 0800 218 2255. Arthur thinks the magician should have won. Not that magic, is it? If you think about it. I'll do Sam.
Hi, Alan. I spoke to you last night about my cat's behaviour changed, and I've figured out why his behaviour's changed.
Oh, so good, because I've been worried all day.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, if your pet's behaviour change, it's either your pet's either ill or not well, or it could be because your behaviour's changed and your lifestyle maybe has changed a little bit, and that sort of affects how your pet behaves. Does that make sense? So my cat, he was acting a little bit different to a couple of weeks ago, and that's a result of me going out at different times and coming back in and taking him out at different times, and that changed his behaviour. and then.
I know cats are clever, but can yours tell the time?
Can he tell the time?
Can your cat tell the time?
Yeah, they know when it's food time. They know when it's time to go. They roughly know when. If you go back, if you do something on a regular basis, they will know. Like, you know how we have body clocks. So if you sleep at certain times and you wake up at certain times, you're more than likely to wake up at that time. So they have that kind of a time. I know what you mean, but they do have that kind of a time.
You can solve it easily. Get a cat flap, and then it'll do whatever it feels like when it feels like, and you won't matter a fig.
Yeah. So yeah, they do know, because they know when they sleep, don't they? So they do sleep.
Only because you've imprisoned it.
Oh, no, because I leave the door open. He goes out and he comes back in.
Right. So when you go out, you leave the door open.
No, at times I leave the door open. Not all the time. At times I leave the door open because I don't have.
So, like I said, you've imprisoned it, rather like the cell door in Wandsworth prison. They leave the door open sometimes and they lock it at other times. The prisoner doesn't get a say in it, just like your cat.
No. Alan, you got a totally different picture there. Because these cats, they're not wild cats. These are domestic cats, so they don't know anything better. That's their lifestyle. They're a little bit like humans.
Listen, there's no such thing as a domestic cat. What we call a domestic cat is a wild cat kept in prison.
No. Especially my cat.
No. Your cat is no different. You might be different to other human beings, but your cat thinks the same about you as every other person's cat does, and that is, they're the person.
Not true, Alan.
I'll put up with him, and I don't give a crap.
No, believe me, that's not true, Alan. My cat is...
Of course it's true.
Your pet is it's like a family member.
It's not like a family member, it's a bloody animal.
He's not in prison. He has a social life.
He's in prison. Okay, so does he decide when he's going out?
No, because he's on safety.
Right. So he doesn't have a say in when he's able to go out and come in again. So
he can do if I. He can't.
You said you lock the door when you go out with him inside. Yeah. So how much say does he have then? Oh, I think I'll go out. Oh, I can't. I'm locked in. That's a prison.
That's partially true.
It's not partially true. He can't go out when the bloody door's locked. Are you saying he can go out when the door's locked sometimes?
No.
So he's in prison then?
Okay. No, he's not. Yeah. Well, it's for his own safety, because he will.
It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why he's in jail. He's in jail.
Yeah, but he's a toddler. My cat. It
doesn't matter. He's a toddler. He's still in jail.
He's a toddler. In prison,
he's in jail. You're giving me all the different reasons why he's in jail. It doesn't change the fact he's in jail.
I don't see it like that.
I know you don't, but you're not a bloody cat. He's in jail.
No, he enjoys my company, and
he's not enjoying your company. You're not there. He buggered off out and locked the door. He's not enjoying your company. He's sitting. Look at me, sat here like a lunatic. I'm in jail, and that stupid beggar Sam's gone out and locked the bloody door. I'm in jail. Yeah. My mother didn't bring me up for this.
Well, I don't like to hear what you said then.
Well, I know you don't, but that's too bad. You'll just have to live with the reality. You're a jailer. I'll do Justin.
I was wondering if you could possibly offer me some advice, please.
I'll try.
Yesterday afternoon, I was involved in a collision with a cyclist. And I was waiting.
Were you in a car?
I was, yes.
Okay.
I was waiting in traffic, and the cyclist come down the outside of me and knocked my wing mirror off and refused to stop. He didn't stop, he just carried on going.
Mm-hmm.
And I reported it to the police, obviously knowing fine well that nothing's going to get done about it because you can't trace a cyclist. And basically the police officer says that I can't even give you a crime number because in the eyes of the law, no crime's being committed because the Road Traffic Act only applies to mechanically propelled vehicles.
That's more or less correct, yeah.
So I was just wondering, is there any point in pursuing it any further, or just should I pay for the damage and grin and bear it?
Pay for the damage or claim off your insurance company.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because wing mirrors, depends on the car, but wing mirrors these days can be damnably expensive. Well, they're not wing mirrors, are they? Generally now, they're door mirrors.
That's right, yeah, and it's damaged the electric folding mechanism on it, so that's why it's annoyed me a bit more.
Yeah, well, you're possibly looking at a large bill, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's looking that way. It's just frustrating because there's no way of identifying the cyclist, you know what I mean?
Correct.
And to be told that by a police officer, and yes, he was quite frank, he says, it's not the answer I'm going to like, but it's the only one I'm going to get. He says, unfortunately, the requirement for...
But even if it was a crime, there's almost nothing they could or would do, because what are they going to do? Go and look at the door and go and start. I want to see the CCTV of everywhere in the street, like they do with a murder or a bank robbery. They're not going to do that for a wing mirror, are they? So
No, that's it. I was stationary, you see, and he hit me, but just continued to ride, even after I popped my horn a couple of times. He didn't even break a sweat and look back, just carried on riding, and I thought, it's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that without any difficulty, but it is a cruel and bitter world.
Yeah, I think, as I say, the officers who I reported to told me that there's no requirement for a cyclist to stop and exchange details because it only applies to mechanically powered vehicles.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's bloody ridiculous.
Well, it's certainly not... I mean, the trouble is, if they applied it to cyclists, changed the law to include cyclists, they're not registered, they're not qualified, so how would you locate them anyway? If what he'd committed was an offence that carries 5 years in jail, how would he be caught?
Well, this is the thing.
Go on.
I'm of the opinion I think cyclists should have registrations.
Many people agree with you, particularly these days when there are so many, and it's good that there are so many, and that some of the cycles now are powered by electricity anyway. So yes, many would agree with you. Many would also agree that cyclists should have insurance, and a lot of them do via their house insurance, but they don't have specific cycle insurance. There's no legal requirement for it. And of course, they broke your wind mirror, a couple of £100 worth hither and thither, which is no chicken feed, but they could have run somebody over and injured them and pedalled away, and who the hell would know?
It's exactly the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Just a bigger, a more horrid outcome. It's diabolical, Jacine. I'm not writing it off from an emotional point of view. It must be bloody anger-inducing, but they're right.
The more shocking part was the loud noise it made when I wasn't expecting it.
I bet, yes. Yes, it is extraordinary. If somebody, just walking past, swinging their arms, and they catch your car door or something, perfectly accidentally and no damage done. But you don't half leap, don't you? What the,
Well, exactly, and this is the thing. He wasn't just some average bloke on a bike. He was lycra clad on his road bike. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought I'd have known bloody better.
Well, we don't know this, but he might have been the fifth one you did that day.
Yeah, well...
I was driving down the A40 in London, coming back from a job with my producer on a radio programme. I was driving the car because I like driving, and there was hardly any room, and we were, it's 2 lines of traffic stationary on a dual carriageway, and motorcyclists weave in and out, and I would if I was them, and as he went past us, he walloped the window, and you heard the glass falling on the floor. I didn't care. It was a hire car, but the BBC, I suspect, had to cough up for a new mirror because he didn't bloody stop either.
Well, it's terrible, but it's done my head in all day, and I thought, I'll ring Alan. He's a fountain of knowledge. He'll put me at ease.
and all he's done is say, "Hard luck, mate, you're stuffed."
Exactly, but thanks anyways.
Glad to have been of assistance. Have a good night, Justin. 0800 218 222. It's not a laughing matter. We're talking about hundreds of pounds here, and Justin, like everybody else, has got to go out and earn that. And it's just outrageous, but that's it. How do, Chris?
You all right, Al?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah,
was just listening to your caller before talking about his cat, about keeping a prisoner or not wanting to. And I have got a cat flap, but I let my cat out the back door and I leave the latch off. And he came in late once. I was in bed. I heard him scratching at the door. And I said, I've left the latch off, just open it yourself. And he said, meow.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Me? How? 800 218 2255. Oh, I like it. Yeah. Deep blue. You probably know that I'm a member of the Jet Set Society. Yep. I've been on a plane. And I've been to New York 2 or 3 times. Once for work, which was get on a plane, go there, do some interviews, get on a plane, come home, saw bugger all. And then another 2 times were a long weekend, which if ever you think about a long weekend in New York, think again, it's knackering. And then we did a tour. We went to New York and started a tour from there, so you got over the jet lag eventually. And why am I telling you this? Well, you sort of have a list, well, I do, things that I should do this, go up the Eiffel Tower in Paris. No, I didn't think it was in New York. All of that, go in a casino in Las Vegas, done that and all. Anyway, and one of the things I wanted to do was I thought, I'll go and have breakfast at Tiffany's. So we found out where it was and we went. It's a jeweller's shop. They don't do breakfast. I know. So that was a waste of time. And the other thing I wanted, because all the detectives did on the programmes on the telly, American detective series, they wanted, what shall I get you, Sarge? I'll have a pastrami on rye. He said in a Warrington accent, I'll have a pastrami on rye. So I had a pastrami on rye. And to be perfectly frank, it was very, very nice. But they have them in supermarkets now in this country, and it's less nice. But theirs was lovely. And the other thing I did was I went to Trump Towers, which is basically a flashy shop in New York selling crap. Who's shocked at that? Nobody. 0800 218 2255. How do, Paul?
I'll do, Alan. Alan, when you retire, are you going to miss any of your frequent callers? Because I know I am going to miss your frequent callers. You're not.
Well, no. Why? Why would I?
You just.
Yeah.
It's something to look forward to, Alan. I love your calling. I don't want to butter your ass, but yeah. Anyway, so you're not anyway, but I am. I'm going to miss your frequent callers. I'm going to miss you, and I don't think anyone can replace you.
Well, somebody will, because that's the nature of the business, but thank you. But certainly, we're going to be around, apart from me skedaddling to do something much more important than talking to you, which is going on holiday, he said politely. But we're going to be around after that for a couple of months, July and August. And, of course, my colleagues, Stacey and Connor, will be presenting during the time I'm off. And our team will be more or less the same, Talat, Luke, Jason and all the rest of it, and Jane. But I'll be somewhere better, having a holiday. But back on the 1st of July, every weekend then, until the BBC decides to introduce the changes that they have planned for BBC local radio, which, quite understandably, don't include me. Which, I'll be 75, all bar a whisker by then, it's probably right. So there you are. But thank you anyway, Paul. Have a good night. How do, Robbie?
How are you, Alan? Are you okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Right. My question to you is, at the age of 84, how can you have a kid? How do they keep you up that long?
I don't. Maybe they don't.
No, obviously, Al Pacino, you heard about him, the day before yesterday. And
I did, yeah, but I know nothing. Maybe he uses that age-old aphrodisiac.
What about the Arabs with the 3 or 4 wives? How do they keep you up?
I don't know, and I don't need to dwell upon that because not every Arab has such people. But he may have used the age-old aphrodisiac, which is, of course, celery.
Okay. The other question to you was...
You don't eat it. You don't actually eat the celery. You use it as a splint.
Okay. Thank you for that advice.
That's why it has a groove in it. That's what the groove's for.
Right, the question to you is, regarding the guy who's on they had a collision with the cyclist.
Yes.
You got these cyclists delivering food, Deliveroo, Just Eat. These guys have got no lights, no visibility jackets, right in the middle of the road they're riding. You say something to them, the only word that you hear of them, F off. And obviously, yesterday night, the same thing that happened with me. I said to him, you come in the front, I'll knock you over. I was going to knock him down literally, but he just went onto the footpath. But the thing is, regarding the companies, why don't they tell them to wear visibility jackets or put the lights on their bikes and everything?
I don't know whether the companies have the right to do that, to tell them. They're possibly freelance, self-employed people entitled to do what they wish.
And what happens is that once you report an incident to the insurance companies, they just put the price up for your insurance. Obviously it's non-fault, and they still put them up. Hello?
No, it's all right. I'm not waiting while you talk on the phone to some other bugger. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, feel free. A quick shufty at Monday's newspapers. Indeed, I might say today's newspaper, The Sun. Good God, he's still bitching. Phil. I refer, of course, to Mr. Schofield. Phil, I won't watch Holly. Who cares? It's nowhere near bloody Christmas. And then The Times, back at last. A butterfly that set Churchill's heart aflutter. He's still gone, but the butterfly's back. Banks turned the screw with a weekend of worse mortgage rates, and the unions lambast Labour over their naive energy plan. So there you are. The I newspaper, Generation AI, most fearful of losing their jobs to robots. I'm losing mine to young people. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it because they're young people with talent. It's a cruel and bitter world being a wrinkly. The Daily Mirror front page, act now to stop the TB horror. A British professor warns the disease will overtake COVID unless the world finds a one-shot cure. Referring, of course, TB to tuberculosis, which is not a major problem in this country, but is a problem in many parts of the world. The Daily Express, Rishi, I will do what it takes to stop the boats. Well, of course you will, Mr. Sunak. We all believe you. Don't you worry, sir. We believe you. And we believe that other woman that's in charge of it on your behalf as well. Absolutely. Now you've said that, there won't be any. In fact, I'm thinking, when I'm going in my plane tomorrow, if it goes south for a bit, I'll keep an eye, and I bet there are none in the channel because of what you've just said, so thank you. Yeah, right. The Daily Telegraph, lockdown benefits a drop in the bucket compared to the costs, says the Daily Telegraph. Sunak, fewer Albanians in small boats shows crackdown is working. Of course it is. Financial Times, Saudi Arabia seeks to boost the oil price with output cut by 1 million barrels a day. And Labour banks on a £5 million boost for the next election after landing a new super donor. Or is that a super donor? It might just be a big sandwich with very strange meats in it. No, it is a donor. Yeah. Daily Mail, record demand for 35-year mortgages as the rates keep rising. And Holly's back on the sofa today being Monday, but will she bring herself to say Phil's name? No, can't guess. The Star, we oven-ready Brits. In other words, we've got lard plastered all over them, and we're in the heat. And the Metro, 999 heroes under attack. That isn't nearly 1,000 heroes, like there's a big load of heroes and they're being attacked all at once. No, it's 999 heroes. In other words, emergency workers. 9,500 assaults, dear God, on ambulance crews with paramedics bitten, head-butted and spat at. The one thing you need to do in life is never try to help anybody because they'll treat you like dirt. The Guardian front page, Tory austerity left Britain hugely unprepared for COVID, says the unions, without any thought of an extra grind. Thousands protest over a rise of the right in Poland. Yeah, the right used to have to invade Poland to get powerful, but now they're doing it to themselves. And the pill halves the risk of dying from lung cancer. When they say the pill, it halves the risk of dying from lung cancer because it removes the risk of being born. 0800, maybe that's not the way they meant it. 0800 218 2255. We're here until 1, which is 40 minutes away. How do Jessica?
Hi, about Al Pacino having a baby at that age.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't, but you know what I mean. Well, but I thought perhaps it might have been a grudge baby.
A grudge baby?
Yeah. Somebody might have had it in for him.
Oh.
Couldn't I tell him?
Thank you very much. I've heard that about the milkman. I've never heard it about Al Pacino. Excellent. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. And this is just for Al Pacino. You didn't listen. Carly Simon. She's good, isn't she, Carly Simon? Did she do You're So Vain, which I quite liked? Yeah, maybe she did. Yeah. 0800 218 2255. If you, she did do it. Yeah, thank you. I wasn't that bothered, but I know people tell you things. No, I shan't. I'm busy. 0800 218 2255 if you wish to take part. It's 25 past midnight. We're here till 1 and then we're gone, which is a nice little poem. It's lovely, isn't it? That? Derek, I've got a 66 here. I've got to be able to play. Tommy?
Hello, Alan.
Hello. What do you want to talk about, Tommy?
Are you there? Are you there?
Yes.
You know, I've just been listening to you tonight, and I find that it's just the most. You're a really good broadcaster, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, like, absolutely fantastic. You come across as a really nice man, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, that's definitely not the case. Certainly not. But there you go. If you think I am, that'll do.
No, I think you've got a really good broadcaster. But the thing, like, what's going on in this day and age, though, Alan? What really is going? No, this woke stuff that we've got going on. Like, you're a man who I believe should be at the forefront of media, and you speak your mind, you tell how it is. I'm not going to dip my toe into all this, but what's going on, mate? Really, you can't. I went to a party today, and certain people were walking in and out, and no one was able to say anything. I was thinking, what's happened? What's happened to the past? When we can have a laugh and a joke, and no one can say nothing nowadays. And I believe people like you on the radio should be able to, you've got to be able to speak. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Like really, nowadays people can. Here's an example. 2 weeks ago, we had a coronation for our king and queen, and people should have been really celebrating that, like we should do, and we were.
And then we have a little bit of a debacle about someone saying something. What was it? What was the comment that we got to about? Oh, it was terribly white. Come on, mate. Now, let's have it right. If we said anything other than that, like it was terribly black, can you imagine the backlash we would have got off that? Like, this is what I'm talking about this woke culture. It's not right, Alan. It's not right.
I kind of like it.
Do you agree?
No, I like the woke culture.
Do you agree?
I like the woke culture.
You like woke culture? What do you like about it?
I like the fact that it helps to protect individuals who are different to the majority of society to enjoy, celebrate and not be treated poorly as a result of their difference. I quite like that.
Listen, we all like to celebrate each other's cultures, and I'm all for integration and everything else, but don't you think this is going a little bit too far, mate?
What, you mean there's too much integration?
No. You can't have enough integration. Integration's a great thing for our country.
Excellent.
Listen, there's so many people of cultures, backgrounds, religions, everything. That I welcome everybody into it. But don't you think this is going a little bit too far when you've got people?
I don't understand when you say this is going a little bit too far. You seem to say I like this and this is going too far. I'm having trouble working out if that's a contradiction or not. It seems to be. Well,
yeah, it may sound like a contradiction, but I'm all for, integration in it. But
yes,
when you've got people...
But what is it then that you were objecting to, if you're all for integration and the rest of it?
Well, this is what I object to the fact that you've got people coming on live in front of millions, thousands, millions of people.
Well, without counting, what is it?
Terribly white.
Is it? Well, it was terribly white.
Why was it terribly white?
I don't know. Well, perhaps the king will know. Ask him.
You just said to me, but why was it? It was what was terribly white about it?
I think the expression was meant to convey that it was predominantly white, and that people use the word terrible.
And what's the problem?
Well, there isn't a problem. Somebody just remarked.
Well, she obviously had a problem with someone being terribly white.
I don't think it was about someone.
Can you imagine if we said something was terribly black?
No, I don't need to imagine it. It happens.
Can you imagine if we said it was terribly black? We would be absolutely sent to Coventry for that.
Right. Well, Coventry's not a bad place.
I think that's really a poor state of affairs that we've come to. I think it's really, really, really sad that we've come to a position where people are saying it's terribly white and they get away with it. And then no...
Well, were the people that said that, were they inaccurate or were they correct?
Oh, I think they were way off the mark.
So you're saying it wasn't. You see, we need to do a little bit of semantic here. When people use the word when people use the word terribly these days, it isn't a derivative of terror. They mean predominantly. When they say it was terribly white.
Come on, Alan. Come on, mate. I respect you. You're a good broadcaster. You're fantastic. But come on, mate. You're not looking after your job here, are you? Come on, mate.
My job has already been decided is ending, so it would be a bit pointless of me.
Come on, you're a wise man. You're a street wise man.
I am a wise man, which is why I don't have to pay much. Which is why I don't have to pay much heed listening to idiots. How do Anne?
Hello, love. Is that Alan?
It is.
I want to wish you a very, very happy holiday.
Thank you.
You're well deserved. It's well deserved. I've got Patsy inside impaired eyesight and we're hearing aids. So that's why I don't ring up very often. So I listen to you every week, Alan.
Thank you.
I hope you have a very, very nice holiday. A well-deserved one, believe you me.
Well, deserved or not, I'm having it. But thank you very much, Anne. Do have a good night. 0800 218 2255. How do Jacqueline?
Good morning. You cut me off early before.
My apologies, not.
A gentleman goes to a fancy dress ball.
Right.
Totally naked.
Right.
Except for a potato on the end of his, todger.
Right.
What did he go as?
I don't know.
A dictator.
Oh, very good.
Right. Good night.
Good night. 0800 218 2255. If you wish to join us, that's good. You are perfectly at liberty so to do. I don't know whether you watched it yet. I watched it recorded tonight. The Gallows Pole. The Gallows Pole is all about the clippers, as they were called, coiners, as some people called them, and the man who eventually became known as King David. And it's from back in the 1700s, set in Yorkshire, actually in and around Halifax. And it's all about a way people sought to make money illegally. And what they did, they gathered together gold coins. Gold coins at that time were made of pure gold, whereas now they're not, unless you have a sovereign or something. They're not pure anything, they're base metal. But gold coins in those days, sovereigns and the like, were actually pure gold. Mordor's a Portuguese coin, and lots of others as well, were actually made of pure gold. Now, pure gold is a soft metal and it wears quite quickly. And every so often, a nation such as England, as was then, has to replace it. So they call in all the old gold coins and they then send out a load of new ones. And the amount of gold they get in when they call in the old coins is less than the amount they put out with the new coins, because it's worn. And people, particularly this King David, decided what they would do. They would gather together gold coins and they would make them smaller with the effect of a pair of scissors, effectively, tin snips, if you like. They would cut a sliver off all the way round, and then they would use a file to put the milling, you know that thing on the edge of a coin, to put the milling back on. And then they'd get the little bits of gold that they've got, and they'd melt it down, and then they'd tip it into dies, like casting, and they'd make a new coin. And, of course, they were making a fortune. In those days, to own such a die was a capital offence. You could be hanged for it. And indeed, David, well, I'll not give you a spoiler. The reason I mention it is, and the reason I know about it, is because a few years ago, I did a radio programme for BBC Radio 4, all about the coiners and King David and the rest of it. And it is, I don't mean the radio programme, but the tale itself is an absolutely fascinating tale. I watched the first, I think it's a 3-parter, and I watched the first part this afternoon, this evening, early evening, I watched it, and it was very, very good. They haven't yet introduced clipping to a great extent, and so it'll be a while before we get to that. I suspect they'll get to that in the next episode. I do hope so. But anyway, it's fantastic. It's had great reviews, and if you get the chance to see the Gallows Pole, then please do. And when we did the programme, we went to Halifax, obviously, and the people who decided to do the clipping had a meeting, and they had it above a pub. And the room above the pub that they had the meeting in was the same room, not at the same time, was the same room where some other people had a meeting and set up a newfangled idea to help people buy houses called a building society. The very first one in the world set up in Halifax, hence Halifax Building Society. I know. It's live and learn, isn't it, this stuff? How do Morin?
Oh, hello, Alan. How about your little pussycat? is he going to be all right while you're on holiday?
It's been dead for about 8 years, so yeah.
Haven't you got a cat at all?
No, I don't have any animals now. I used to have 2 cats, and when they died, I didn't replace them.
Oh, right. I just wondered about them, because they don't, if they have to go somewhere, they don't really like going to
Well, we
another
never,
place.
we and still do as it happens, but when we go away, because we go away for a long time, a month or
Yeah.
so, we always get people to stay in the house.
Yes.
So
But you
when
haven't
we,
had to put it.
well, when we had cats, that would be part of their job, staying in our house. But they stayed in the house to keep the house occupied and parcels being delivered and all that crap. So we just employ people to live in our house.
Pussy sit.
Sorry?
They pussy sit.
Well, we don't have a cat anymore,
Oh,
but
they
they
will,
still.
I know, yeah.
They're called house sitters, and
house sitters.
yeah, and so they do all of that. And whilst we're away this time, there'll be house sitters in. There'll be more people in the house whilst we're away than there are when we're here, because there's going to be somebody building wardrobes, there's somebody painting and decorating, there's the house sitters, and
oh gosh,
dear God, it's going to be a hive of activity, which is part of the reason we're sodding off.
Yeah, hopefully it'll all finish when you come back.
Yeah, one hopes.
Yeah, I've always loved pussycats from a little girl, and I've had 5 or 6 killed on the road where I am, and it's so terrible. And they've got acres and acres of land at the back, farmland, but they're drawn to the busiest road. And I've just got one little cat left now. So, and she's 14, and I've never been able to stroke her. I feed her, and I haven't seen her all through the winter where she's been sleeping, and it just upsets me. I can't find her, and she's about 14, and she's getting, she's old now, and I think she's got very bad arthritis. And the fact I can't get hold of her to take her to a vet to see if he can help her, and it's so sad. And losing pussycats, so I've had a lot of cats in my time. I've had a British Blue, very, very clever cat. Well, they're all clever. I think all cats are clever. But Lola, who I've got now, well, she's just lonely because she came from Wrexham, from a home in Wrexham, to 2 people up the road, a bungalow, and they escaped out of the shed and came down here, and of course I started to feed them, and it was Charlie and Lola, and they were here ever since, but Charlie ran out the front gate and run over, and then Lola just sat by the gate for about a month, I think, waiting for him to come back, because he looked after her, and so she's always been sad. And I had another one called Lily. She just turned up, Tiger Lily. She was a clever cat, but she's not long gone away. I think she had something the matter with her, and you can't help them, unless you can unless they're domesticated. They will come in the house, but they like to stay outside in the shed, and so I've always had trouble, trying to get hold of them when they're not very well. So I'm just on the. I don't think Lola will see another winter out. It's so cold now. She's enjoying the sun now, but I think it might be the last year she's going to be here. So.
Well, to be honest, it's touch and go in the same respect for me. Have a good night, Morin. 0800 218 2255. How do Patrick?
Hello. Is that Alan there?
It is.
Is that? I've been listening. Intently tonight about the. Radio Medicine. There's a few deals coming on this radio.
You appear to be breaking up, Patrick, so it's not a very good line, so I don't know what you've said. So if you'd like to start again, that'd be good.
Well, can you hear me now, Alan?
I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Is that a better connection there?
Well, it seems all right for the moment.
Well, I've just been listening in tonight, and I've had a couple of stipples as well, by the way, but that's neither here or there. But there's a couple of imbeciles that's been on tonight, and there was a one fella that was on earlier on, I think his name was Thomas, and he was going on about this, he was talking about I think he was chatting a load of rubbish, by the way.
We get a lot of that. But you must make your own decision as whether you're part of it, but yes.
But I think he was going on about a lot of rubbish there. And listen, everybody in this world has got their own background and their own decisions to make, and everybody has come from. I was brought up in the southern, the Isle of Ireland. I was brought up, but I live now in England, and now I know that this world is full of many people who have got to be. The way forward in life is to make sure that everybody is looked after, and look after your neighbours as well. Because your neighbours, you know, you can doubt these people. These people, you can go, you don't like it. Your neighbours are very important people, you know, and you've got to look after people. And you know, I went to a chip shop local to my house a couple of days ago, and do you know what they gave me?
Chips.
Well, I did get chips, by the way, but they gave me a large sausage, and they gave me it for free. They said you can take it, you can have it, and they said you can. I just thought to myself, that was just lovely.
Right.
Look, it means nothing. It doesn't mean much to people, but when people give you something and they express themselves and they say it, it means a lot. It means a lot.
Somebody sang a song years ago. Little things mean a lot, but so also do big sausages, it would seem.
Good. This is it. This is it, and this is what I'm trying to say to people. I'm from an Irish traveller background, so I've got so many scope and feeling about. I just love people, Alan. You know, and I love. You know, I just love getting it, and I don't like people like Tommy who come on before and he's saying things like I don't like that.
Okay, fair enough.
But I love the sausage.
So it would seem.
Excuse me?
Well, I can't excuse you. I don't know that you've done anything. But anyway, thank you for your call, Patrick, and your love of the large sausage. Are you Roger?
Hello, good morning. I think it's morning, isn't it? Yes. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning.
I wish to talk about I'm a failed medical student. It's always frustrated me. My forte was neurosurgery and neurology. So I've kept up my interest. And, for example, the paleocortex, it is by close examination of a person apparently blind. This was in the Reach lecture about 5-10 years ago, by use of a pin to assess whether in the left nasal hemianopia sight is possible in a totally blind person. Now that's rather fascinating, isn't it?
Yes, whether it would be
if I can explain what left nasal hemianopia, which is a vision on the left half of the on the side of the nose, the left nasal hemianopia. Also, people with no sight at all, by means of ophthalmic and neurosurgical operations simultaneously, can have sight given to them, not restored. They've never been able to see. And I often thought of writing to Peter White, who was a marvellous broadcaster, asking him whether I don't have the facilities. The entire operation cost £2 million in America, but it could be made routine. And the irony is, with all the World War situation, the Russians have a special ship for ophthalmic surgery, which actually has been to Liverpool in the past. And the surgeon's name, he's still alive.
Well, please don't give me any names.
No. He's a Russian surgeon.
I don't care who he is, just don't give me any names.
Well, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 0800 218 2255. People always get uppity when I say don't give me any names. There is a reason for that. It's me that'll get the damn letters saying I've been mentioned on your radio station, I want a copy of the tape, and I want this and I want that, and then I want an explanation, and I want the right of reply, and I just think I can't be arsed with all that. Just don't let anyone say any names, and then I'm out of it. It's a policy of bone idleness which has seen me well for the past 4 decades in this strange job. Just don't get tied down by all the legal palaver. Curtail it as best you can, which is what I've done, and so far got away with it. But there's plenty of time left to make a pig lug of it. Oh yeah, we've had snotty letters. Dear God, you don't get snotty letters. You're not doing it right. And I'm probably pilloried on social media, but given I don't have access to social media by choice, I don't give a stuff what they say. If you can't hear it, it don't hurt you. Generally. Somebody's going to come on now and say, yes, it can. Oh, my Auntie Mabel. And that's what it did to her. Which is possibly true, possibly cobblers. But there we are. That's me done, as it happens. And that is finito, as they say, until the 1st of July. The programme will still be here. I'm not the programme. The programme is something I work on. The programme will still be here. And working on it, sat in the daft chair, this one, will be Tracy or Connor, depending on what night it is. So I think there are 8 of them, 8 nights. So Tracy and Connor, there's only 2, one of each. Yeah, one Tracy, one Connor. I mean, I know there are more Stacys. There are loads of them, I'm sure. And loads of Connors, even O'Connors. Oh, yeah. But the individuals that I'm referring to, Tracy and Connor, who each work in radio at the BBC and are going to take turnabout almost sitting in this chair in my absence and doing a cracking job of it, I am certain. So tune into them and enjoy their presence, their comments and the calls of very soon. I'm still trying to work out the first caller tonight. It was a bloke talking about pickle. I know. We are, I've said many times, we're a broad church. We went from pickle to the Belgrano. Yeah, I know. To Universal Credit, to the Piper Alpha oil disaster. We were only on the 4th call. I know. And then there was helicopters. I mentioned the other day that I'd been... I mentioned even today, I mentioned being on that beach in Anglesey, Newborough Beach, fabulous beach. And 3 flying warships, fighter helicopters, went over one after the other in a line. They are so noisy. And they went over. And everybody stopped. Everybody stopped and looked at them and wondered, But my guess, and that's what it is, a guess. My guess is there were Ukrainian pilots being trained. Now, they didn't have an L on them. I don't know whether you have to when you're learning to fly an helicopter. I don't know whether you have to display an L, learn a flyer or whatever. And then when you've passed your test, if you're in Northern Ireland, you have an N, new driver. Well, I don't think they do. I think they just go like that. you know. Here's a thought. How do they learn to drive a submarine? Presumably they do it on dry land. They must have submarine simulators, like they have aeroplane simulators. I went on one, a rocket simulator. It was just not a toy rocket, but it was a sort of toy pretend. You know, it wasn't a training kit, but you sat in your chair ordinarily, and then the whole kit and caboodle of it sort of turned through 90 degrees so that you were sat looking upwards. You're still looking at the same thing because it went round with you, so you're looking upwards at the pointy of the ship, the airship, the rocket, and there's a big screen, and you're sat there, and it shakes about a bit, and you look up, and it's as if you're seeing, you're going through the clouds and all of that. It was quite interesting. You did float, which I was a bit disappointed with, to be honest. I was hoping I could float, but you've got to go with Virgin with that, and I flew with them once and it was crap, so I'm not going to go to space with them. But and like that, and it made a lot of, oh my God, it made a lot of noise. But those guys who went to the moon, they must have been deaf when they got back. Oh, the clatter! Holy cow! Up it went. It never moved anywhere. Never moved. No, we just. It was pretend. I told you that at the beginning, and it's like ready for a lift off. Until then. Ta-da.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Matthew Carter. New figures compiled by the BBC show that the number of migrants who have arrived in the UK in small boats this year has fallen by almost a quarter compared with the same period last year. More than 7,500 have crossed the English Channel, but Rob McNeil from the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford says the drop is unlikely to be a result of government policy.
Actually, migration policy only plays a very small part in shaping whether or not people do or don't turn up and try to claim asylum somewhere. It tends to be much more affected by geopolitics and by what's going on elsewhere in the world.
The Russian Defense Ministry says Ukraine has launched a large-scale military operation. Unverified reports from Russian state news agencies claim a major Ukrainian offensive in the south of the country was thwarted. Kyiv said it had made 2 small advances in the east. Separately, anti-Kremlin Russian paramilitaries say they'll hand over to Ukraine what they say is a group of Russian soldiers captured near the border in the Belgorod region of western Russia. They say Belgorod's governor had not come to meet them, despite saying he would. Our correspondent in Kyiv, James Waterhouse, says Ukraine denies official connections to the group.
There are question marks. There are potential Ukrainian fingerprints on this. These volunteer groups are connected to the intelligence service. They crossed the border. That takes organisation. They used Western armoured vehicles, for example. And there will be those in the West that are nervous because they've always wanted the war to remain within Ukraine because they are worried if it spreads outwards, that could start a world war.
The British Chambers of Commerce has launched a new business lobby group to represent some of the UK's largest companies. The announcement comes just before a vote on Tuesday at the separate organisation, the CBI, on reforms to move the company forward after allegations of sexual misconduct. A 9-year-old boy has been seriously injured in an incident involving an inflatable Zorb ball in Merseyside. Police said the boy was inside the Zorb in Southport when it unexpectedly rose into the air before landing on grass nearby. BBC research has found GCSE and A-level students are being scammed out of hundreds of pounds by social media accounts claiming to have access to this year's exam papers, which are likely to be fakes. The regulator Ofqual says leaks of papers are extremely rare, but the scams are becoming more common. This student, who wanted to remain anonymous, was quoted £500 to buy a paper.
You wouldn't meet a single student across this whole year that has not heard of these accounts. They are everywhere. I would say that it is the most frequently talked about hype of this exam season.
Exam boards say measures are being taken to spot and shut down the accounts. And Paris has staged the Grand Dictée, a mass-scale dictation exercise on the Champs-Élysées. 5,000 people aged between 10 and 90 sat at desks and attempted to transcribe without error the passages read out to them, ranging from sports journalism to a 19th century short story.